It is December 18th. Blah, blah, blah. Take a minute to read the minutes, I'll entertain a motion. Please, y'all.
Just because you're headed south, you're
Not yet,
taking the garden.
not till Saturday, so I got all kinds of time. I haven't heard from our two missing members, so I don't know what their story is. I think it's a class action thing.
I think one of them has a church supper, so he might be late.
Oh, that's right, it's the third, yeah, so I won't be here.
Yole's sometimes late. So.
I don't know why I thought it was the first Thursday. What is that? Ay, ay, ay. Jesus, is that camera pointing right at my head? Swing it around.
Yeah, teacher.
I'm sitting here blowing bubbles.
You're so photogenic.
Please. Yeah, you know, there's a crack across that lens. No, are you kidding? I try and tell everybody I see, don't watch that.
9/10 of the time it's pointed at you. You didn't know that?
I thought it was usually pointed this way. Towards those three unlucky people that show up late. Except for Ken, but Ken loves this kind of stuff. Because he's used to it being a big cheese across the border.
Are you televised across the border?
Yes. At the Opera House. Is that where you have meetings upstairs? No.
No,
Oh, you don't?
downstairs.
Oh,
Can't afford to heat the building.
there's a point, yeah. That cavern. It is cool though. Come on, it's not in Sanskrit.
I'll move we accept the minutes.
Gee, my
I'll second them.
Any changes or corrections? You're happy with it? All's in favor, aye? All's opposed, nay? Super. That's good. Good job, too. All right. Zip for the new business. Old business review, proposed resource protection amendments. Y'all got a copy of this pretty multicolored thing? And the multicolors stand for what?
The red is changes that you voted on last week.
Ah,
The blue is, can be addressed, right?
Yeah, that's something we can pull out. Now that this is all talking about outside of the shoreline zone, we can get rid of all the flood zone and FEMA stuff. That's all verbiage for shoreline zoning.
that was in 422226, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was maybe
Can I ask
upset.
you a question though, on the maps though, there's inland shoreland zone is the wetlands that we're talking about then? It's.
Correct.
Okay, so it still looks like shoreline on the maps.
It's gonna be a little confusing to look at it and determine what's in, what's out, but just by looking at the map, we'll.
It's not right on a lake. If it's 250 feet from a lake.
Well, the wetland is truly a wetland greater than 10 acres, and it's
Right.
been resource protection since I've been here, then it's in.
Okay.
So it's really just the newer stuff.
This stuff that was passed a couple of years ago. Gotcha, yes.
Can we walk through this then?
That's the plan, Stan, go. You're first.
The preamble looks fine. I've met, just to update what I've been up to with Southern Regional, I've met with them twice. The new planner that we are working with is a fellow by the name of Lee J. Feldman. Nice guy, easy to work with. And I'm due to see him tomorrow to bring him our latest thinking on what we're up to. We were kind of talking by one another on our first meeting, so when I checked what he had for us on Monday, or Tuesday afternoon it was, he needed to revise it a little bit, so he's waiting for me to bring our thoughts to him tomorrow, and I should be able to pick it up shortly afterwards, next week.
So we're paying someone to rewrite this?
We're not paying, no, it's coming out of some state monies that are already allocated, but
Well, we've hired someone to rewrite this?
we didn't really, the understanding was that there's state monies available to help us with some planning, so that's what that's what it's coming out of.
He's gonna, well,
I thought we were kind of all set with it. Except
I think he was gonna cross the i's and dot the t's.
Yeah, it's just so we make sure it's legal.
Make Tom happy,
Well,
unless we don't need his vote to pass it.
what you said, wherever it says, Ken, wherever it says Resource Protection District, should we keep hammering that notion of Resource Protection District outside the shoreline zone, just for clarity? Because if we say it without appending that to it, it's going to create some,
It's part of the preamble, so it pertains to everything that follows below it, A through E.
okay,
Yeah, it's right up here in the first paragraph.
all right, so
And that sets the tone for the rest of the article.
A is no problem. B, he's got that change already. C, no change.
You can't have a 1 without a 2.
1, I thought we talked last time about maybe diminishing the slope. I put 10% on the table, and let's talk about that one.
I think you were roundly ignored.
Well, what about 15%?
Why be random? Why not just go with what the state goes with?
The 20% is
You're just
In the stormwater documents, it's 15%.
Right, which is random too, because that was probably changed by us for the same reason.
Well, I think it came that way. I think it came 15%
I don't think it did.
before Scott. I don't know, I like 15%, but.
Well,
15 is hard to do the math. 20, you can do the math in your head.
yeah, you can
Oh,
also
you mean like-
wash the water on by your feet. The notion is we're doing this to prevent, runoff from getting in the resource. Why entertain a slope as steep as 20% would be my notion. Let's just have a show of hands.
20% is 2 feet in 10.
Right, but 20 feet in 100 to be more realistic.
5 feet and 25. I just have to do that.
Yeah. 1 in 5.
Or 6 and 30. We could go
2
on.
feet and 10 feet. So that takes 8 feet.
Yoli, pick a number.
7, she said.
We're gonna have
Thank
rank
you.
choice voting on this.
Wait a minute for Yoli.
So the 20% came from,
State.
State language. But
Now, in our stormwater thing, we're using proposed 15% slopes, correct? Is that where we're using 15?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of threshold between incidental and non-incidental was
All right.
15%.
No, they each have a 15% category. It's
But
the
it's-
amount of
yeah.
disturbance that you can make.
Yeah, it's-
Less disturbance.
so we can formally do that.
Or we could change that to match the 20.
Yeah.
Yoli, we were looking at C1 on the special exception. And we were debating,
Tom is debating.
I had suggested 10% the last meeting, and that's floating. Now 15% is on the table for
so it's,
a compromise.
I mean, what are we hoping to accomplish with the whole exception? Is to allow people a little more latitude.
Yes. Right now, if there's RP in your land, it's a no. this might give them a little bit of leeway. It's not necessarily oh yeah, sure, with this, now you can build a structure on your
Still gotta
property.
go through,
You've gotta come to us.
yeah.
And we can go out there and take a look and say, that's not gonna work, or we can give you all kinds of
You got a 75 foot,
criteria or conditions.
you got a 75-foot setback. How much, I mean, Kenny, how many, if you went to 10% instead of 20%, you just, how much is that gonna affect?
We might not be able to put a driveway in.
Yeah.
There aren't probably too many lots that don't have,
20% slope on it?
no, I think it's 10%.
10%, yeah. Yeah.
At least 10%.
That's why I would make a motion that we consider 15 as a compromise. I mean, the whole sense of this is to give some ground and to save some ground, so to speak, in terms of allowing the applicant to do a little bit more with their property, and yet still acting in respect of the resource, you know, the wetland. The 20% slope is just, you're gonna have to be more rigorous with your safeguards.
Would it be-
That's what we're there for.
And we can impose those safeguards.
There you go.
Um,
Because they have to come to us to get permission to build and how they're gonna mitigate whatever their problems they might be creating.
Well, there is some sense also to having it in conformity with the other bit of work that we're
Which,
proposing.
yeah, which is just proposed and is on the back burner.
Yeah.
And the limits were based just as arbitrarily.
20% sounds like it's a big slope, but when you break it down to it's 5 feet, 25 feet, and when you think of a walkout foundation, the house that, you know, was usually about 28 feet wide, and you drop it 8 feet in 25, 28, 30 feet. And that's not that steep of an area.
You
I mean,
know, 8 feet, because your grade is about 18 to 24 inches below the front door. So you're dropping about 6 feet.
so 5 feet and 25 is a 20% grade.
It might be
So
beneficial
walk
to
out.
get out and actually see, you know, what a 20% grade or a 15% grade looks like. And we can debate it, but, you know, trying to visualize it, it's a whole different thing from actually seeing what a 20% slope looks like.
Well, that little wall piece there is close to like, what, 4.5? And so if you run out, you know, 22 feet, whatever the length of the room is, that could give you an idea right there, like you guys tried to do last year, the year before, when you had that, on the wall upstairs in the town hall.
I mean, it's just you're dealing with the speed of runoff, that's all. Whether you want to allow stuff that is a little more hard.
But you can affect that speed in how you address the ground, you know, is it all gonna be, you know, go through crushed gravel there? Is it gonna be a blacktop trench to the water, you know? How you address the ground is gonna,
Let's just vote on it. Let's just vote.
well, what are we voting on?
15 versus 20.
Nobody did. Did somebody second Tom's motion?
I'll second that.
Sorry, you can't.
Okay, I can second motions.
Everybody's
Not
here.
if you're not voting, I don't think.
I can't make the motion, but I can second
The
it.
only
We went through this
second.
before.
The only second is,
So what is the motion now?
My
15%.
motion would be to consider 15% versus 20.
okay, it's been,
Two reasons, the paramount one being, it's still an appreciable slope, and we're not, the intent of this is not solely to allow to be more permissive, it is also within the parameters of being mindful of the resource. So I think 15% strikes a compromise. And also, it's a figure that's consistent with some other work that we're proposing.
Any further discussion?
Wait, did you say that 20% comes from the state?
Yeah.
Yes.
But the 15% is in our LID work.
And, which is a proposal.
Right, and that also might get blown up, you're right.
Any further discussion?
I think if you guys were looking at it as a conditional use basis, when you saw something that was a 5% grade, you're gonna be less restrictive to apply multiple conditions to it, but if you saw something that was a 20% grade, you may apply much more vegetation and things like that. I think the 15 is an odd number to start breaking down. It's 3.75 feet in the 25 feet versus 5, or the 10 and the 20 is an easier number to break and calculate, but
Elephant races. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, which is 15% slope, say aye. Or raise your hand. 1. All those opposed? 3 to 1.
Okay.
Is there another motion?
Moving on to 2.
Well, is there, do we want to make a decision on this, on the
Oh, yeah, just-
degree of the slope?
So it's proposed at 20%.
Or do we want to leave it at that? Do you want to make a motion, or we're just going to leave it at that and keep going? We're happy with 20%?
No.
Fine. Next.
Kenny, I'm not sure why you are omitting that.
the number 2,
Yeah,
the 100-year flood, if it's a 100-year flood, then it's resource protection in the shoreline zone. We're out of the shoreline zone, so you won't get into any flood zones.
well, but do we want to exclude floodplains? Yeah, that's what we're doing, by doing that.
If it is in the flood plain, then it's resource protection in the shoreline zone, and this doesn't apply to any of it.
So there's floodway versus floodplain is two different.
Yeah, we have flood zones in town, but it's not a realistic flood zone like they have in Fryeburg or Wells. All of Great East is in a flood zone, but if you look at it, sometimes it's almost 200 steps to get down to Great East Lake, but their camps are still in the flood zones. Our flood zones aren't that accurate. The maps are outdated and such, but the only realistic flood zone we have is the Salmon Falls. So any resource protection that is resource protection in a flood zone or a floodway is in the shoreline zone. So this is language that was taken from shoreline zoning, and now we're taking it out of shoreline zoning, so we don't need number 2 at all. It's not going to apply.
What would happen down along Flatburn Road or Hopper on the, on the,
That's all shoreline zone. So we're not helping those people with this ordinance at all. So the only people that may be able to be helped are people that are well away from shoreline zoning that just happen to have a couple of acres of forested wetlands near them, or up to 10 acres of forested wetlands.
floodplains are categorized as shoreline and not resource protection?
Well, that would kick it into resource protection in shoreline zoning.
Because it would be contiguous with that larger body of water to me,
With the river.
greater, yeah.
So by omitting that, are we, they cannot take advantage of the exception? Is that the thinking, or they're not impacted?
They're not impacted by it. They would still be in the shoreline zone if they're in a flood zone
This only applies if you're outside.
of the shoreline zone.
So that's why he pulled it out, because it's addressing land that's within the shoreline zone. The special exemption only deals with land outside of the shoreline zone, correct?
Correct.
So it's one less thing to muddy the waters.
Yeah, there is no flood zone in the resource protection outside of the shoreline zone.
Okay, so the folks that would have been impacted by C2 will not be permitted to add structures.
Because they are in the shoreline zone.
Okay.
They're in the resource protection.
Just to be clear, all right.
I don't know if you want to call it legitimate resource protection or state guided resource protection versus local resource protection.
All right?
Okay, yeah.
D.
D looks fine, although we wanted to do something with accessory buildings there, didn't we?
The only thing that I recall was there was some discussion about that the 1,500 square feet would be the maximum within resource protection.
And that was including the cantilever, overhangs and all that stuff, and we've gotten rid of that.
Which, yeah, you
Now-
people are the kindest.
So this is for the whole, the 1,500 applies to the whole property or just a portion in the resource protection?
I thought we said what you said, within RP. Yeah.
Well, I think if they have land out of the RP, that's where they've got to be building anyways.
But so we're gonna limit them to 1,500
But
feet?
they may not have enough, they may just have a fraction that's outside of, on the map. So, you know, a corner of their house or a portion of their house may be outside of the RP. But say half the house still has to fall within, because they don't meet other, you know, GP setbacks or whatever the devil. So, yeah, I think maybe we should,
It has to be.
maybe we should say that
Specified.
the 1,500 square feet within
Yeah,
the resource protection zone.
that was our intent, I thought.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about, yeah.
And then I thought, Ken, you had a notion that we were also going to, within that 1,500 square feet, could be, part of that could be a 600 square foot maximum square foot of an accessory structure, right? So that, if somebody was going to do that, they would have 1,400 square feet left to do, no, excuse me, what am I saying? 900 square feet remaining if they were going to do another structure or add-on onto their house. The whole damn thing was in RP, right?
1,500's the total.
1,500 is total, so if they came to you and said, we'd like to put in a 600-foot garage, you know, and that was you picked that number because it was the max for a floating slab, and that would leave them 900 square foot to add on a screen porch or something.
Or two, no. If their house was 1,500 square feet already, they wouldn't be able to do anything. That 1,500 is a state number, and maybe we want to look at that 1,500, because again, we're out of the shoreline zoning, and if you're looking at, these are usually primary residence for people, it's still pretty restrictive.
Does the preamble kind of pick that up? Where it says, for a single-family residential structure and any accessory structures in the resource protection district outside of the shoreline zone. So that 1,500 feet would just apply to within the resource protection.
Right. But when they're talking about maximum 1,500 square feet, I think it makes sense if we also throw in within the RP. Because we may have, it just makes it that much clearer.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So there's a place where I could see throwing those 4 or 5 words in makes sense. I think it helps, you know, especially when you're limiting the size of what somebody can build.
And I think the other phrase you want to insert in there is for the life of the structure. Right? You don't want to have them coming back and trying to do this again.
Well, I think if it said the total ground area within the resource protection,
It's 1,500 square feet, it's 1,500 square feet. You can't,
if it burns down, you get the bill.
there's no 30% added onto that, there's no, nothing. That's
So-
the max they can have in RP.
So that's including existing, is that what you?
Yeah.
Thank you, okay.
So if they've already got 1,500 square feet in the RP, they can't add.
Right, and if they've got 2,500 in the RP, they should count themselves in.
Should we clarify that by saying something like to include existing and proposed? Just so there's no,
But if there's already existing, why are they
I
coming?
think just,
I-
I'll leave it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good the way it is, really. They have to come to Ken anyway, they're not gonna be doing anything on their own. And if they say, what exactly does this mean? He'll go, boom, it means this, they go, okay, fine, see ya.
so how?
You've already got 900 feet in the RP, you can add 600.
Excuse me?
Because if they've already got 900, an existing structure within the RP, they could add 600
Add the
feet.
6, yeah.
One form or another.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, so how will that read, just to scan that? So I
It
can-
reads through the way it is.
well, we're gonna throw in within the RP. The total ground floor area of all principal and accessory structures is limited to a maximum of 1,500 square feet within the RP, period. This limitation shall not be altered by variance. Ooh, I like that.
Would it read easier if that within the
Oh.
RP is right after the total ground floor area
Yes.
within the RP?
That's fine.
That could be.
Just move your arrow, grow your arrow up instead of down.
Got it, right?
Does the board feel the 1,500 is a good number?
That's a generous number.
That's,
Basis for it?
that's what the states, of course, we're not really going into.
Yeah, because the state's thinking this is resource protection, shoreline zoning.
So
Seasonal.
in Acton town meeting. 1,500 square feet is pretty generous. That's a square 38 feet on the side.
Oh, you're having a party.
Is that limited by number of floors or anything?
No, that's ground floor. That's what's the shadowing print on the ground.
Yeah, so it actually could be double.
Right.
Of living space, yeah. But it's just somebody, if you grab a calculator.
The footprint.
Somebody with a reasonable size colonial cape, whatever, 28, 40, 48, something like that. And then they're just trying to build a shed or a garage or a barn or something like that.
A skyscraper.
Skyscraper there.
You've got 35-foot or maximum, right?
To the top.
Yeah, so they couldn't go that
And
high.
then they're gonna use 1,500 square foot.
The big, yeah. They have to support it. with
Close
posts.
it.
All right, how about E?
So functionally water-dependent structures are,
Docks, boathouses.
Marina.
marina, water closet,
There you go.
Car wash.
usually,
You can almost get rid of E.
Well, you need, if we're gonna go for that stream provision, we need, and we're working on,
But you'd have it in the ordinance as a setback already.
Right.
You guys would use the street setback, the side setback, your water setbacks already.
We've got it right there, right above this, 4225. A buffer 75 foot along streams, page 31. Another question, what exactly is this gonna be measured or numbered? Are we changing the current 4226? Are we gonna put dimensional requirements somewhere else? Are we taking that all the way out and leaving it wherever the devil goes? What's
we
good?
had, hold on, I got an answer.
Because I
It's
know
gonna be 4226. That's what Lee had it.
we have a 4226. So I'm just wondering, will the real 4226 please stand?
So aren't you gonna make it a 4227?
I don't know. Are we leaving
Proposed
the
one
4?
already has a 7 and an 8.
Are we, what does?
And the proposed one that we're going to be looking at eventually.
Oh, the stormwater? Fish time. This comes first. It's closer.
Dimensional requirements are usually
Yeah,
the latter part of it all.
well, that's,
So you move that to 7?
is that how we addressed this when we were looking at stormwater retention? Or the stormwater ordinance? Because I know this came up then.
Lee had this is what he did. He had, he plugged this in as 4226, and then he made 42.3 for dimensional requirements.
Definition. Yeah, because all of these deal with, fall under definition. They're all 422, 1 through 6. Dimensional requirements are really not part of the definition. So that should be that should be like 423. Yeah, that should be 42, yeah, because then we don't have one of those. Okay, great. So I think if you want to put dimensional requirements last, call that 423.
Is that what you had, Tom?
That's what Lee had, yeah.
423?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
all right.
But
This would be
he did retain,
Yes.
and he did retain E and was working on cleaning up the mess of tributary stream business.
Yeah.
So that the stream, the new definition of stream will include, is proposed to include first order streams. And I'll have that back to you by the 8th.
Well, it's going to be, well, if we're proposing to have the public hearing on the 8th, it's going to be tough to not have something that the public can peruse that has everything in it already. You don't want to bring up something at last minute and say, oh yeah, by the way.
Well, you would propose something about a special meeting, but we don't have the time.
That would be the 8th.
Schedule.
The special meeting would be the 8th.
What
Because
about-
we're not going to,
What about, we have our regular meeting on the 8th. Consider whatever is left to clean up and then a hearing on the 15th. Can we do that, or is that not enough time?
yeah, no, we couldn't.
Regular meeting's the 1st and the 15th, the
Right.
special
First-
meeting would be the 8th.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we don't have a meeting on the 1st, obviously.
No,
Correct.
we could, yeah, you're right. What was I thinking? We can have, yeah, we should probably go for the 15th for the public, excuse me, for the public hearing. That way, there's time to go over whatever isn't done yet for the 8th. Get it out there. They've got, on the website, they've got 2 weeks to look at. We'll have a couple of copies for the Luddites. And have a public hearing on the 15th. And when that's done, depending on how it goes, we can vote on it and send it to the selectmen. 8th. They need it by the 28th, their last meeting of the month.
29th.
He told me, well, 29th.
Thursday, right?
That's fine, yeah, Thursday. Oh, wait. 1? Yeah. Of course, the 2nd is the 8th, so that's the 22nd would be their normal last meeting. He did say that he was talking about, he did say 28 to us, didn't he? Or did he really mean their last meeting, which is January 22nd? I don't care. We'll have the public hearing on the 15th. That way we've got all kinds of time to go over on the 8th and get it all,
Okay.
and then put it out there.
I'll try to
On
get
the
it.
intraweb.
I'll try try to get it to Brenda as soon as I can, and so she could distribute it by email.
But wait, there's more changes coming?
It's just this
E,
noodling around with the stream. If you want to consider first order streams, we have to clean up that definition.
Oh, okay, so that would just be the definition in the glossary, so you'll have first order and second order defined?
Yeah, and we'll have to do something with the phrase tributary stream or upland edge of the wetlands, or just tributary stream will have to be pulled out of there and stream probably left in there, I guess. And we'll clean up the stream.
what exactly is he gonna give us, a definition for tribute,
Stream.
for just stream?
And I gave Tom some definitions.
Better
First
than the
order,
one we have.
first order and second order streams.
Ah, see,
He's gonna
that's-
clarify what.
That's different.
The definition we
There's
have
three.
in the book is a second, in the glossary is second order.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it doesn't say second order, it
No,
says streams.
But
that
that's
means
what the state considers.
No, that's what Acton considers a stream, is second order.
Is second
streams.
orders.
So with this tributary stream, a tributary stream can be intermittent, and it can be actually a zero, which is, there's water activity, but it's just under the surface of the ground.
Oh, you mean it
Does
doesn't?
that, there is a zero.
You
I
can't
gave
tell,
Tom
you
definition.
can't tell from looking at the ground that there's water
If
activity?
you move the rocks, there'll be moisture under them, I mean, and there'll be algae and
That is
things like
what-
that.
But the first order
It's a
streams
stony looking wet area.
would be a little higher magnitude.
Well, yeah, stony looking is what I
So,
thought. You
so
can
Tom
tell
was
that-
thinking maybe we would want to use first order stream, but I don't know, or really,
First order stream is where
When
the
it comes
water
to this
first
kind of
gets
wetland, I
together and
don't know
starts
how
working
it-
down. Second order is when this guy meets this guy,
Right,
right.
and they form something that's a shade larger.
below the confluence of two first order streams.
Right, right, well, I've got no problem with that.
Would you object to using the word first order stream to help define the second order stream? If obviously first order stream definition would come first.
I think it just muddies the water. I mean, if we say a stream is where water starts flowing down, then unless it makes a big deal down the road for a secondary stream, if that's dealt with differently than a primary, or first order, second order, I'm all messed up. I don't get it. It's just, there's gotta be a simple way to do this. Give me a good definition of a stream.
Maybe
It's a rock bed that you can see where there's been water action.
That's a
That's
tributary.
it, that's it. Then I'm done. That's all we need.
Okay.
I don't know that we have to delineate first and second.
It's just that you would have a much easier sell with a stream defined initially as a first order stream.
No, you wouldn't, because nobody knows what a first order means. You
Well,
have
that's
to
why-
tell them what that means.
That's why we're gonna define it, my friend. That's why.
Well, then we're gonna get three new definitions. We're gonna get stream, first order, and second order. We're not using the term if we don't have a definition for
We're
it.
talking about measurable flow of water any time of the year. Seasonal could be seasonal.
Yeah, right, it's
So
just
any
whether it's
measurable
above,
flow of water is,
whether it's above a confluence of two,
Why does that make any difference?
it doesn't.
All right,
But
then,
it's
let's
just-
not throw that in. We don't need that. We don't need it. You can't do this by a stream.
Well,
This is what a stream is,
we have to
okay? I don't
clarify.
care if the stream is this wide or it's this, no, we don't. We tell them what a stream is, we say you can't do this next, you gotta be 75 feet away from this. And that's all they have to know. They don't have to know first order, second order, pulling their hair out. They don't need that. It just messes things up. Give a nice simple definition of what a stream is,
Okay.
and that's all we have to
That's
worry
all
about.
I'll agree.
Because if we're gonna say this addresses a first order, it also addresses a second order. So why throw two things in when we don't need it?
Well,
This addresses any stream. What?
that's possible, I think what Tom's trying to get at, and I don't care how this comes out really in the end, but what he's trying to get at is that a first order stream is on a topo map.
Correct.
So you can actually see it.
Right.
Whereas, so,
Is a
so if you've
secondary,
got someone who wants to argue with you about whether it's whether a gully or a stream is a stream, then at least with a first order stream, you can say, the USGS says this is a stream. Whereas any stream of a lesser order, someone might want to argue about, that's all,
and
that's all.
that is your zero?
That could be a tributary.
Yeah. I mean,
You mean
they're
a
all
tributary is not a
they're all
first order? I thought a
tributaries.
tribute, yes.
Right, but you can even have a zero order stream, all streams are tributaries.
Right,
Even a river is a tributary.
right, right.
So tributary is just the generic term.
So you're saying that if it shows on a topo map, that counts?
And that was part of the
Yeah,
very.
otherwise you might have someone, you take them out on the site and you say it's a stream and the owner says it's not a stream and,
So if it's not on a topo map, it's not gonna count?
Well-
Correct,
that's what Tom wants.
correct. The
That's-
language is
Well, I think
something,
I think that could be trouble for us.
the language is something
I
like,
don't know that, I don't know.
How often do they update them?
the streams are pretty much,
Streams change and form all the time.
oh yeah?
Yes, and they don't do topo maps every week. What's the latest rendition of a topo map?
You can make a stream of the skin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the wetlands change constantly.
We have snacks.
And,
Yeah, so
yeah,
so the tributary might be less.
I'm telling you, if you wanna limit the topo maps, I'm saying fine. You're gonna end up screwing yourselves in the end and come crying back here 2 or 3 years down the road. Jeez Louise, people. You keep trying to redefine stuff and you're making it tougher and tougher on yourselves. You want to use topo map?
Part of the definition will be something like a water course as depicted on a 7.5 series topographic map.
That's great, I'm happy with that. That's our
Yeah.
definition.
Chip has a point too, I mean, I see it both ways.
Nah, that's all right.
Well,
I'm happy with the topo map.
Well, is the stream behind Carl's house on the map? The
No.
stream-
no.
That's
Son
a
of
big
a
stream.
gun!
It's a big stream and it gets really wide at
Oh,
times.
but it doesn't count. It's not on the topo, we're going by topo. He just said, come on.
well, you have to, you have to make a cutoff at some point in terms of what you're going to define it. The USGS map is a pretty good.
Okay, but the state didn't. The state stuck it with tributary, which could be a zero.
I think if you can identify it as a place where there's a
When
potential
water
runoff.
flows, then there's, I mean, that's what you're trying to protect, right? That's why it's resource protection.
What I'm saying is the definition of tributary stream is too onerous a definition.
The tributary
true.
is just a tributary.
Jess, what I'm trying to get at here, I'm trying to step back from the stringency that is in the term tributary stream.
But why?
There's no stringency in it. Didn't you read the thing I gave you? Didn't bring
I
a
did,
copy of
I
it.
did,
Did
I
you
did.
bring a copy of it?
I did, yes.
Read the third statement.
I'll let you read, you know what you're at.
This was a note from the Maine Shoreline Zoning Handbook for Shoreline Owners. On page 19, there's a note at the bottom of the page that defines, it says, both perennial and intermittent streams can be tributary streams. Tributaries have defined banks, a lack of upland vegetation, a channel devoid of topsoil, and flow into a water body or wetland. That's the definition of a tributary stream
By the state.
What about streams?
by the state.
What do you want to do with streams that flow out of the wetland? Or what?
I don't get,
I think there's probably stuff
Streams
that the
go through
topographic
things.
map misses.
Oh, there's a lot of it,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's why I think it's a mistake if we limit ourselves to that, but if that's what you wanna go with, that's fine with me.
I was stepping back from the stringency of tributary stream, thereby giving the applicant a little more room to maneuver. Stream is a,
Who are you?
Is a-
Where's Tom?
is a hierarchy
There's the Tom.
with my motion. With the hierarchy of the tributary stream could be a smaller entity than the first order stream. So if you're gonna be that rigid, you're gonna restrict more people, is all I'm getting at.
If the tributary stream is in the shoreline zone, it should already have the setback to it.
Yeah, but we're not in the shoreline zone. But that's the other reason we call it a stream. Trust me, I'll try to make this sensible the next time we meet.
So we're bringing the older maps that we had prior to with the additional streams on it?
All they have to do in-house at Southern Maine Regional is a keystroke.
Right,
He
and
said
bring
they
those
will-
back. Because
No.
we told them to save them.
It'll extend the delineation of the buffer. It's like that purple line below the confluence. It'll extend that up into the two first order streams.
I'm just thinking if we're expanding it shoreline zoning wise, we may need to notify the people that those streams are on their property and
It's not, that's why we're not doing that in the shoreline zone, because we would have to know.
we're not calling it shoreline zone or?
No, we're calling it, it's a stream.
Stream.
I asked him specifically to say,
Streams
sure
outside
we're
the
not-
shoreline zone.
to make sure that we're not getting fouled up with a notification requirement here, that we're not, we don't want to get blindsided. My notion of that was when Jamie worked on it, she was particularly aware of the fact that if and when we were able to protect first order streams, we did not want to go through the agony of a mailing. So she has worked it out somehow or other, I think by delineating stream protection district as in the RP zone, so, excuse me, shoreline zone, something like that. So he's going to check that out.
It's gonna be a stream protection district outside of the shoreline zone,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. Yeah, it wouldn't be in the shoreline zone anyway.
So if it's out of the shoreline zone, we can have any verbiage we want. If it's in the shoreline zone, we have to mimic the state's verbiage.
Yeah, I'll try to.
Or we have to send the verbiage to the DEP to be approved.
Yeah, right.
But if it's similar to the resource protection special exception, once we took it out of the shoreline zone, we do whatever we want to it.
Right.
I asked him to please be very careful of that issue, so.
All right, so we're all set. He's gonna give us a definition we can work with for E. The rest of it, we're good with it. We're gonna call it 4226. And, so by the,
And again, E, you could probably remove it if you wanted to.
Yeah, like simplify things.
Well,
now with our new definition.
What do you want to remove?
E.
I don't think you want to remove that. Because that gives you the whole criterion for what we're supposed to be, the template of language that we use when we look at these on a case-by-case basis, like what am I trying to say?
To the greatest practical extent, you know, the second half.
Yeah, what are the permits I'm trying to find?
Conditional use?
That's
For-
That's possible.
Best possible location.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's all state language.
All right, so we'll have this stuff by the 8th.
yeah.
We are going to meet on the 8th then.
I'll have it.
Oh, wait,
I'll have it before that.
yes. Yeah, we have a special, that's right, that's why we have to have the special meeting on the 8th. So we can have the public hearing on the 15th.
I'll get it. You guys have office hours on the 3rd? You won't.
No,
I'm not.
Okay.
probably Monday the 5th, or Tuesday the 6th.
Six.
Okay. Well, I'll get it into you by the 6th.
We can have it when we walk in here the night of the 8th, because, you know, it
You're gonna need
gets
more time.
tough to meet now. If it's that difficult, then I'm voting no already. It better be simple.
It better, you're right.
And not this first order, second order bullshit, because no one's gonna know
No,
what that
that's
is.
terrible. more than 2 words at a time.
There you go. We're trying to make this easy for the townspeople. The ones who are gonna have to vote it into existence. Okay, so, we're gonna have a special meeting on the 8th. Workshop, I guess.
Brenda, could you send us a reminder? Please.
And right now, looks like that's all we'll be discussing. So as long as it's a special meeting, that's all we're gonna discuss then. Is that good with you, Ken? If something comes up, we can throw it on the 15th. All right, so special meeting, workshop on the 8th, just discuss this thing, whatever you wanna call it,
And tentatively, we have a hearing on the 15th.
15th. Anything else for tonight? Nobody? All right then, it's been another slice of life. Good night, Cable Land. Have a Merry Christmas and a happy and safe New Year, wherever you may be.